Episode of the Everblack Podcast is brought to you by Deathwish, Hotrods and Kustoms. Check out their Instagram for all their new t-shirts, caps, beanies, cups, and the all-new Atomic Death lineup. Name's Nev anyway, Will. It's awesome you could join us on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for taking time to chat. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. Well, of course, the new Fit For An Autopsy album, Oh What the Future Holds, is out on January 14, and I've been lucky enough to hear the album, and man, it's fucking incredible, dude. Like, it's meaty, but man, holy shit.
Yeah, it was a fun one. I'm glad. So far the response has been cool. Hopefully, hopefully all our fans like it. A couple new tricks, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about it is it's also got that emotional weight as well, which takes it to a whole new level of heaviness, you know?
Yeah, so this one was, we probably spent more time lyrically kind of painting those pictures than I think we ever had. We had more time this time, which was nice. So it was a quarantine record is honestly kind of nice and relaxing to make. There's no pressure, you know?
Was there a clear path musically after, See a Tragic Beast where, it led to that? Or was it something that happened due to everything that happened in the world that took it on that sort of musical journey?
No, it kind of just got into it. Like, I don't ever really write fit records with a plan and kind of just get in there and see what happens. Like, usually when I feel like I have enough good ideas in my brain, I'll start to write stuff, and however long that takes, you know. And then it's kind of whatever happens. Like, that was the stuff I was feeling like writing in the moment, and that's what made it on the record. You know, I did write a lot of songs this time, which was cool, probably more than I ever had. So I was able to cut a bunch of stuff, which was nice. It wasn't like a race to 10 tracks. I probably had like 20 songs. And then it was like really obvious what the winners were for me and stuff. So it's kind of like it just comes out, and then I kind of sift through it, all the chaos of it, and make a record out of it.
So what happens with those ones that didn't make the cut? Are they going for B-sides, or are they on the back burner?
Yeah, we got plans for a couple. I think they'll probably surface in the future. And then sometimes they make their way onto other albums. You know, I think. Has that happened before? I feel like it has. I feel like Iron Moon from The Great Collapse might have been an older song that I was kicking around, could never finish it, or I just didn't see a path for it where I was like, oh, okay, now it's cool. And then one day I had an idea. I was like, I know how to finish that song, and it became a track on a future record, you know? So I bet you one or two of these will wind up working themselves out into the future. Cause there is a pile of cool stuff, but like, when you're writing, sometimes you hit a wall, and I'd rather set it aside than force like a bad ending for a song, you know?
Was it Matt from Trivium was saying that recently about a song that is probably one of their best songs in their new album, and that was from years ago, and they just couldn't crack the code, and then all of a sudden it just was like, bam, and then ends up there.
Yeah,
it's crazy how that happens.
I think there's an After the Burial song on their last record that was like a 10-year-old riff that finally Trent was finally like, I know how to finish it now. Now I have a song with it. So sometimes it happens, you know. I still know riffs in my pile where I'm like, I love that part. It's got to be in the song one day, and it, you know, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Hopefully it does.
So how far back does the writing for this one go in saying that?
I did it in little chunks here and there over time, usually, which is pretty common for me, shortly after a record comes out, because I've been like living with the songs, like we're doing press, we're talking about the record, it's on the internet, everyone's paying attention to it. A little shortly after this release, I'll probably go back into that session with like while it's all fresh in my head, and I'm like, oh, cool. People like this work, and I'll just like jam a little, see if something cool comes up. And then I just go away for a while. I don't want to do fit music for a minute, you know, and wait till I kind of recharge the batteries. With this one, I broke it into a couple sessions where I was just like, I had some free time in between mixes. So I was just like, I'm going to write as much as I can until I'm burnt, see where we're at, and then I'll go back to it. I just did that a couple times. And then I felt like I had enough material to actually get into a record.
Because, man, I'll be honest, I think this is the best one yet.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
me too.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a thing that people say, but I really, listening to it, I think it really is. I think it's really strong. Like, you guys have broken through to, as I said before, like that next level. It's really melodic and it's weighty. It's meaty, but it's also melodic and emotionally weighty, as I was saying. And in saying that, do you feel like the evolution of the band has pushed you through past the deathcore tag, I guess, the genre?
I feel like, I mean, that's where the band kind of came from, I guess. I mean, to be honest, we came from being fans of death metal and hardcore, and that was, I guess, a recipe 10 years ago for what hardcore is. But we over time obviously have tried to develop our own style, which I guess doesn't really align with what deathcore is now in 2021. Yeah. You know, the young bands I listen to that are deathcore bands are like wildly different sounding than us. And I'm like, well, we're a deathcore band, I guess, if this is the deathcore band. So I don't know. I mean, we don't care anymore. You can call it whatever you want. It sounds like a metal band to me. I feel like we go in a few different directions. So I'd understand why it would be hard to like box it into a genre, you know, but we have elements from a lot of different stuff. So some people can hear that. Some people just call us a metal band. Like, I don't know. We don't care. But whatever people are comfortable labeling it as, if they're listening to it, it's awesome.
It's brutal. Just say it's brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, emotionally heavy is a good way to describe this one for sure. You know, so it was like, I just like sad, aggressive music. So that it's just a pile of that, you know.
Me too. That's why I think I liked it so much. I found lots to relate in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad we put the time in on this one to nail certain things with the lyrics and to convey that kind of emotional response. It was definitely a big goal this time, you know.
Joe's vocals on it are just incredible.
Oh, yeah. He loves hearing he's great.
Yeah,
no, he's great. He is. He did a great job. He was super prepared, and we didn't have a bad day in the studio at all. The dude was just rehearsed, on fire. It was great. He's definitely one of my favorite vocalists to work with. I'm glad he's in my band.
Well, the thing about it as well is the vocals sit perfectly as well. Like, you know, I hear a lot of albums, but this one, the production and the way everything sits, especially the vocals being a vocal, I can't fault it. I just think it's solid.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mixed this one. It's a bit more dynamic. I didn't smash it and like over compress and over squeeze the whole thing like some of the more modern records are, even some of our records, you know. And it feels like there's more space for things to move within the parts, and I think it helps vocals sit really well, which is why like rock mixes work in the same way, you know. But obviously it's still like a heavy mix, but it is like a little off the center from like your standard smashed balls to the wall kind of modern metal production. I just thought it would be cool. I like the idea of trying to mix up the production a little bit from record to record, and it was fun to like dial it back for the sake of the song here and there. So yeah, it's something I'll probably continue to play with the band, because I like that we were able to execute something that felt like it had a little more dynamics to it than your standard just like smashed record, you know, which I also like, but there's a time and a place for both.
It's true. It's true. So I've heard it on a few different things. I've listened to it in my headphones. I've listened to in the car, and when my headphones died at work, I just have it listening on my phone. And usually, you know, when you hear it on the phone, it's probably not the best thing to do with tiny little speakers. But man, it even didn't sound bad on that.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, I really should just start checking mixes on phones, because I feel like a lot of people hear it for the first time. But I wouldn't even know how to mix for a cell phone. That's insane. That's not
it's not what it's meant for. No.
Yeah. But I know, it's crazy.
when
separate cell phone masters. Yeah.
Well, in saying that, what about when it comes for things like vinyl? Because that's a whole other ball game as well. I mean, have you got to take that into consideration when you're doing everything?
Oh, for sure. There's a separate vinyl master for this, which is awesome. Because with vinyl, you can get away with a little more headroom. There's definitely some tweaks to the low end where it's better for the format. There's a variety of things that went into that mastering process for the vinyl, but it's really cool sounding on vinyl. It's like usually my favorite format to listen to a record I've like mixed or mastered or anything on is vinyl, and this time it's really nice on vinyl.
See, I want to get it on vinyl. So I keep saying I've just fallen down that rabbit hole on the vinyl rabbit hole. I'm a bit behind the times, even though I was alive when vinyl was the thing. I've grown to appreciate it later in life because I cared about it either until I started making records, and then I was like, oh, this is nicer. I get it now. It's kind of worth it. And I got a little vinyl setup and stuff. And for some of my favorite bands, it's really fun to listen to because it's the closest to as intended, I think, as possible with the formats nowadays. There's obviously loudness, competition, and records sacrifice the audio integrity for the sake of being loud and competing with other bands in the genre and stuff. But the vinyl, there's just a lot more room to play with. And I think it's the best format to listen to music on currently, Absolutely. I'm loving it. And I can't wait to get my copy. But outside of Fit for an Autopsy, you work with a ton of great bands. And recently, Manuel from Zeal Ardor, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite bands. And it's
he was really fun. I don't know if he knew I was a fan of his band, or I don't know. I don't even really remember how we got connected, but we've done a couple projects together now, and it's awesome. He's just one of a kind guy, and he's super, super laid back and easy to work with. Like we've never really disagreed on anything, and mixing his stuff has been a blast. I hope I can get him actually in the studio one day, but I know this time over the pandemic we didn't have a chance to. But the new record that that's I think it's coming out very soon actually.
Yes. Yep.
It's just fantastic. I had such a good time working on it.
Man, I can't wait to hear that too and hear what you've done with it. Because I know you worked on the singles, right?
Yeah, I think there's he's got there was an EP earlier in the year, and then we worked on a record together. And we've got a nice pile of music coming out soon, I think. So
has that stuff, when you work with all these different bands, even the Australian ones, there's a good Australian connection there. Do they influence your own writing and the way you do things and change up the game for yourself?
It kind of prevents me from doing certain things more so. I feel like I work with so many bands, it's kind of obvious to see certain trends and things that I feel like might be copied or replicated too frequently. Like when I write for Fit, I just want to write music I like, and I try to avoid chasing stuff with the music, with the band. There's no real intention to sound like anybody else, or like, oh, we want to be big, we got to do this, we got to do that. I just like write things I want to hear, and when I produce records all year, I start to hear stuff that I don't want to hear anymore, where I'm like, all right, I'm going to avoid some of that stuff. It's not a knock to any of the bands. It's just like personal taste for me. If I've heard that kind of riff or that vocal 10 times already on different records, I don't want to write the same thing. I'm not interested in it. So I kind of keeps me avoiding certain things, and then obviously I work with guys that are just great at what they do, and I pick up tricks and little ideas here and there. But generally it's more of a steer clear of this because I'm overhearing this,
Was it Bobak from Justice for the Damned? I spoke to him recently. He's a good dude. He said how you like really help reconstruct everything and push them when you worked with them.
Yeah, they're they're a pleasure to work with too, but they were very open to the idea of like, hey, I'm just like a fan of the band. I want to hear it as I'm hearing it from the outside, Yeah. And like what I ideally I'd want to see them do. I would just throw a bunch of stuff at them like that, and they were down. They just reworked. They were happy to rework a bunch of stuff with me, and their last record's awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorites too. What about artwork? You know, you work with was it Adam Burke?
Yeah, Adam Burke did the cover. He's done the past couple with us.
Yeah,
he's been a guy that I can rely on to. I'll have an idea, I'll talk it out with him on the phone for 20 minutes, and then I'll get an email with exactly what I want. You know, so
it's rare.
The idea of going to another artist is like terrifying to me now, because I just have this dynamic with him where it's like he understands what I'm trying to do, and we're able to communicate. I'm able, like, a big thing with artists with me is just like, do you understand what I'm going for? You know, like, people have, you know, I'm not a great artist, so I don't have the ability to draw something and get the idea out of my head. I need to rely on somebody else to translate my ideas, you know? And there's plenty of times where it's wrong, like where I'm like, this, I want it to look like this. This is the aesthetic, blah, blah, blah. Here's the idea. And then I'll see something back and I'm like, that's not what I was thinking. And it's not the fault of the artist. It's just hard to communicate a thought into artwork sometimes. It's not hard with Adam. It's so easy. It's like cheating for artwork. Where like, yeah, now, I mean, he's just our guy. We've done several with him, and I just love working with him on that level.
Do you find that his work in reverse has influenced you and your writing as well? Because his stuff, going through all his work, it's incredible, really dark.
I don't think I take much musical influence from visual artwork. I've noticed that I probably don't do that. I think most of the time the idea starts with the band, and then I pull the visual out of what I'm seeing when I hear the music, you know. It would be weird for me to like look at a picture and write a song about it. I don't think that's happened yet. It might be a cool experiment for sure. Now I'm like kind of interested in trying that. Maybe I'll give that a go next time.
That's a cool idea. Hey,
yeah.
Work on and then you can both maybe add bits at a time.
We talked about doing it with a music video once, where I'm like, I got a story, I want to put it in a video. This was a video that required a budget that we did not have, so it never happened. But I was like, you do the video first. I'm talking to the director. You send it to me, and I'll give you a tempo, like to generally cut it at and paste the video at, and I will write a song to the video as an experiment to be like, can I score a narrative with a fit song? But we couldn't pull off the idea. So I still want to try that, but I like the idea of that from like a scoring perspective.
That would be amazing. What if you did like a GoFundMe or something for it, or a Patreon to get it?
Oh, we don't do those. Yeah, I like to deliver the goods and leave it up to people to decide if they want to buy it. We're never really into, and it's not throwing shade at anyone who does, but we're never really into give us money first, and then hopefully you like what we give you. I like the idea of like, here's what we did. Buy it if you want. Don't buy it if you don't want to. It's all good.
I get that. That's a good way of doing it, though. It's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, people have built careers getting funding from fans like that, connection to it, which is cool. And I think for certain artists, it's a useful tool, but it's not something in our repertoire, you know.
Well, I mean, in regards to the band's touring and stuff like that, I mean, you guys do things completely different. I mean, you don't hit the road with the guys. Do you miss hitting the road?
A little bit. I think it was just a decision I had to make. I don't think I could be the record producer that I am and tour full time. It's kind of like I can do one or the other, but not both, you know? So I kind of realized that a long time ago. And I was like, let's just slide me out for somebody who's better than me at guitar anyway, and who wants to tour. And that decision was beneficial for everybody involved. I can just still be involved with the band and do the creative process and kind of run the business of it. And then they're their own machine on tour, and I don't have to interfere with that, you know? So, I mean, obviously when they play big festivals and there's like crazy shows, it's like, oh, that'd be cool to do. But it's like, I'm not just going to jump on stage and throw a wrench in it all. Like, they got their own thing going there now. And it's not, I'm happy. I'm happy sitting them out, you know?
So not jumping on a plane and come down here to Australia with Die Art at some stage?
Oh, I don't know. We might come hang at one point. Maybe I'll sell a T-shirt or something. But I mean, I've started to play shows with another band that I play in, so I'm getting that itch scratched elsewhere, and that's enough for me. So
Does that end?
yeah.
Man, I love that shit too. It's fucking
Oh, thank you.
I love
Yeah,
that album.
actually, we've got shows this week actually, and then we're gonna do some touring next year, like actually extended touring for the first time. We can finally line up some schedules, so for the first time we'll get to a bunch of new places.
Man, I would love to see that down here in Australia.
Yeah, talk to Andy Marsh, right? Go bother him.
Yeah.
He'll probably.
I will. Okay, tell him. I'll go to his Facebook page in a minute. And I'll be like, "Hey, bro, bring that in."
Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Australia. I've spent months of my life there already, producing records and staying in beautiful paradise places, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. So if I have an excuse to go there, I'm going. So
We always welcome, brother.
yeah, thank you, man.
Well, man, in the meantime, though, the new Fit For An Autopsy album, Oh, What the Future Holds, is out on January 14. We'll have all the links down here. Take care of yourself, man. Merry Christmas to you and your family. And,
Thank you. Likewise. Much appreciated.
No worries, man. No worries. Take care of yourself, bro.
All right, dude. Thanks for having me.